The lake had always felt like a secret that belonged only to her. Hidden beyond the tree line, past the old stone path no one used anymore, it lay quiet and still, reflecting the sky like a held breath. No voices ever reached this place. No footsteps. No witnesses. That was why she came here, why she always came alone. On that morning, the mist hovered low over the water, cool and silver, curling around her ankles as she stepped in. She told herself, as she always did, that she was safe, that the world could not reach her here. The water embraced her gently, washing away the weight she carried from the house, from the long corridors, from the rules that pressed down on her chest like invisible chains. She waded deeper, letting the chill sharpen her senses, letting the silence wrap around her until even her thoughts softened. For a while, she forgot who she was supposed to be. She forgot the master. She forgot the way his presence bent the air in every room he entered. In the lake, she belonged only to herself. Time lost meaning. The sun climbed higher, burning off the mist, warming her skin. When she finally turned back toward the shore, she felt lighter, calmer, almost brave. She stepped from the water slowly, droplets sliding down her arms, her hair clinging to her back. That was when it happened. The moment froze, not just her body but her breath, her heartbeat, her very soul. He stood there, watching. The master did not move. He did not speak. He stood beneath the tall pines at the edge of the clearing, his dark coat stark against the green, his posture unreadable. The distance between them felt both impossibly far and terrifyingly close. Her mind screamed to run, to hide, to cover herself, but her body refused to obey. Shock rooted her to the earth. She had never seen him here before. No one came here. No one was supposed to know. Yet his eyes were on her, steady and unflinching, as if he had always known this place, as if he had always known her. Heat rushed to her face, followed by a cold so sharp it made her shiver harder than the lake ever had. Shame tangled with fear, confusion with something she did not want to name. The master's gaze was not wild or cruel. That frightened her more. It was controlled, measured, as though he were observing a truth that had finally revealed itself. She wrapped her arms around herself, taking a half step back, her heel slipping on the wet stones. The sound echoed too loudly in the silence. "I thought I was alone," she whispered, though she did not know why she spoke at all. For a moment, she thought he might turn away. She clung to that fragile hope, watching his face for any sign of retreat. Instead, he stepped forward, just one step, but the ground itself seemed to shift beneath her feet. He stopped at the edge of the sunlight, half-shadowed, his expression still impossible to read. "You are never truly alone on this land," he said quietly. His voice was calm, deep, carrying a weight that made her chest tighten. It was the same voice she had heard in the house, issuing instructions, closing conversations, ending arguments before they began. But here, without walls or witnesses, it sounded different, closer, more dangerous. "I didn't know anyone came here," she said, her voice trembling despite her effort to steady it. "I do not," he replied. "Usually." The word lingered between them, heavy with implication. Her heart pounded so loudly she was certain he could hear it. She lowered her gaze, unable to meet his eyes any longer, painfully aware of her vulnerability, of how exposed she was in every sense of the word. This was not how she wanted him to see her. Not like this, stripped of all defenses. "Go," she said softly. It was not a command. It was a plea. Silence stretched again. The forest seemed to hold its breath. When she finally dared to look up, she saw something had changed. The master's expression was no longer distant. There was thought there now, conflict, as if he were weighing something invisible. "You come here often," he said, not as a question. "Yes," she admitted. The truth spilled out before she could stop it. "It's the only place that feels quiet." His gaze softened almost imperceptibly. "The house is not quiet for you." "No," she said. "It isn't." Another pause. Another step, this time backward. He turned slightly, angling his body away from her, giving her space at last. "Dry off," he said. "I will wait." The simple decency of the gesture startled her more than his earlier presence. She hesitated, then nodded, retreating toward the rocks where she had left her clothes. Her hands shook as she dressed, her mind racing with questions she was too afraid to ask. Why was he here? How long had he been watching? And why, of all the reactions he could have had he chosen restraint? When she finished and turned back, he was already walking away, his back to her, his long strides carrying him toward the trees. Relief washed through her so strongly her knees nearly gave out. But before he disappeared completely, he stopped. "This place," he said without turning around, "is not forbidden." She frowned, unsure what he meant. "But it is no longer unseen," he continued. "Be mindful of that." Then he was gone. She stood alone again by the lake, the water now calm and ordinary, as if nothing extraordinary had happened at all. But she knew better. Something had shifted. A line had been crossed, by accident or by fate, she could not tell. As she made her way back toward the house, her thoughts followed her like shadows. The master had seen her as no one else ever had, and she could not shake the feeling that he had seen more than just her body. He had seen her escape, her weakness, her truth. That night, lying awake in her room, she replayed the moment over and over, the stillness, the gaze, the voice. Fear lingered, yes, but beneath it stirred something far more unsettling. The sense that this was only the beginning. The days after the lake did not return to normal. They pretended to, wore the same familiar shape, followed the same rigid routines, but beneath the surface, everything had changed. She felt it the moment she stepped back into the house, as though the walls themselves were listening. The corridors seemed longer, quieter, charged with an awareness that had not existed before. Every footstep echoed with the memory of his gaze. Every window reflected not just her face, but the version of herself he had seen, unguarded, vulnerable, real. She avoided the lake, not because it had lost its beauty, but because it had gained meaning. The secret was gone, and with it her sense of ownership over that place. Yet no matter how hard she tried to push the memory away, it followed her. In the mornings, while she worked in silence, she wondered if he was watching then too, not with eyes, but with thought. At night, sleep came fitfully, interrupted by the sound of water lapping against stone, by the image of a figure standing between light and shadow. The master did not summon her. That absence unsettled her more than his presence ever had. He passed her in the hall once, his expression composed, his manner unchanged, as though the lake had never existed. But as he walked by, their eyes met for the briefest second, and in that instant, she knew he remembered. The flicker in his gaze told her everything. He had not forgotten. He had chosen silence. Days turned into a week. Then another. The tension grew heavier, coiling tight inside her chest. She caught herself listening for his footsteps, anticipating his voice. She hated that part of herself, the part that waited, yet it was there, undeniable. On the 8th night, the knock came. It was soft, controlled. 3 taps against her door. Her heart leapt into her throat before her mind could catch up. She sat upright in bed, staring at the wood as if it might speak. "Yes," she managed. "Come with me," his voice said from the other side. "There is something we need to discuss." She dressed quickly, hands unsteady, mind racing through every possible reason he might be here. When she opened the door, he stood exactly as he always did, tall, composed, distant. But tonight the distance felt deliberate, held in place by effort rather than indifference. He led her not to his study, not to the formal rooms of the house, but down a narrow passage she had never used before. It opened into a small conservatory, glass walls revealing the dark grounds beyond. Moonlight spilled across the stone floor, silvering everything it touched. "This is where you come when you need quiet," he said. She looked at him sharply. "You knew." "I suspected," he replied. The lake confirmed it. Her breath caught. "Why did you wait?" He was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was lower, stripped of authority, because power demands restraint, and because that moment did not belong to me. The admission stunned her. She had never heard him speak. Like this, never heard him acknowledge limits. She folded her hands together, grounding herself. "What happens now?" she asked. "That depends," he said, "on what you want." The question felt dangerous, liberating. She thought of the lake, of the freedom she had felt there, of how quickly it had been taken from her. She lifted her chin. "I want to be seen," she said. Not watched, not owned, seen. Something shifted in him then. The master, so carefully constructed, so controlled, exhaled, as though releasing a weight he had carried alone for too long. "Then understand this," he said. "You are free to go where you wish. The lake is still yours. I will not follow. I will not intrude. But I will not pretend I did not see you, and I will not pretend it meant nothing." The honesty rang through her, steady and sure. She nodded slowly, a strange calm settling over her. The fear that had gripped her since that morning began to loosen its hold. "Thank you," she said. He inclined his head just slightly. Respect, not possession. When she returned to her room, the house felt different, less like a cage, more like a place she could choose to remain. And the next morning, as dawn broke pale and quiet, she turned toward the forest path once more. The lake greeted her as it always had, still, waiting, honest. This time she stepped into the water without fear. Whatever watched her now did so with understanding, not control. And far from the shore, unseen but aware, the master kept his distance, knowing that true power was not in taking but in letting go.